Sir.
All right, there we go, guys. All right, I think we're back good now. Sorry about that, man. It's totally on me. I don't know what happened. I got a gremlin in the system. I don't know. And we got it. Everything just went. My camera was on the fritz, really, because my computer was at like 120% CPU usage. So it got in some kind of a kernel loop or something, and it was really, really pissed off. I think it's mad that I had this Basil Hayden because I have dog cussed Basil Hayden many times. But, yeah, I'll blame it on that, exactly. And my daughter has friends over. They're doing, my administrative assistant, they're doing like a project or something. How many kids are here? 6? So 5 that are not mine? Do they look like they're going to raise hell or anything? Wild and crazy. Anyway, guys, yeah, no excuses. AU Alchemist, you're right, man. That's 100% on me, bro. It's 100% on me. I don't know. Patrick says Russian hackers working in the background. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I wish I knew. I mean, I work on this stuff. I get it all set up the way I like it. I got all the graphics made. I felt like we were ready to go. We're going to have a great show. We're still going to have a great show. But it didn't start exactly the way I'd hoped. So I'll tell you what, since we've already discussed some stuff, but we got to start over, we'll start off with some liquor. Tonight I'm having the Basil Hayden's Caribbean Reserve Rye. This is like that blue Basil Hayden's. I am not a fan of Basil Hayden in general. My wife likes it as a mixer, but I don't, as you guys know, I drink this stuff neat, so, it's a little different for me. But I'm going to tell you guys, breaking news, I had a little sip of this the other day just to see what I was thinking about it. And so this is essentially Basil Hayden, no age statement, and then they don't just put it in a rum cask, which I thought would be cool. They just mix rum with it. So what happens is it gets really, really sweet, real sweet. It's almost like a dessert bourbon. I mean, it's not entirely bad. It's just you kind of have to know what you're getting into. It's kind of got a rummy taste, as you would expect. It's got a little bit of burn. It's subtle. I taste grape juice. I don't know if anybody else would taste that, but I mean, it's just really, really sweet. I had a choice. I could either get this Basil Hayden Caribbean Reserve Rye or I could get the Angel's Envy Rye. The problem is that Angel's Envy Rye is $100 at the ABC store here in Alabama, and this is more like $48. So I was like, I don't really want to pay for that Angel's Envy, and so that's what I got. But anyway, let's see. Kyle says Frank's interview 10 out of 10 really analyzes the game well and communicates well with the journalists. Yes. Frank Martin sometimes in some circles gets a bad rap for being, as you guys know, in the games he can be a little crazy. There's no denying that. But he's actually a really, really good dude. And among all the major coaches in the SEC that are like, football, basketball, baseball, et cetera, I probably want to hang out with Frank Martin. He would be in the top 3 for me. And I just really like Butch Thompson, so he would probably be up there for me as well. Maybe not Gus as much. But yeah. So we talked a little bit about basketball. I just want to get to this. Patrick, you've got a question about football, and I want to get to that. That's good stuff. I do want to mention on the basketball tip the things we got to talk about tonight. Devon Cambridge, let me get the box score up again. Devon Cambridge was insane tonight. What do you have, 26, 28? 26 points on 10 of 14 shooting, 6 of 9 from 3. And I think his career high was, 11, 12, 13, something coming into this game. And he scored 12 in like one little surge there where he went 3 of 3, and then Jamal hit a 3, so they had a 12-point surge right there. And Frank Martin was like, no mas. That was late in the first half, and Devon really was good in the second half as well. Frank Martin likes grape-tasting bourbon too. Huntsville Tiger, my man, I can't really say I'd recommend this. But I think for my wife, who's not necessarily a hardcore bourbon drinker, I think it's good. She liked it. You liked it. I mean, you're not saying it's the greatest thing you ever had, but solid. It's good for Basil Hayden. Yeah. But we can't really mix this. Somebody on Reddit said they had kind of Frankensteined a little bit of this, where they put half of this and then half of Old Forester, like the standard Old Forester, and that when you mix those two together, it kind of took away that overly sweet feel, and it was actually a lot better. I don't have anything else here I can mix it with. I'm not about to open my Knob Creek 15-year Final Four. I'm not doing that. That's a special one. It's for a special moment. I don't know when that moment's going to be, but it's special. Chip asks a great question. Did Devon cement his place in the rotation tonight? That's a great question. He was tremendous. I think of him as a wing, so to me, it's like him and Okoro a little bit. But, if he's going to play the way he did tonight, you got to think about it if he's going to be more valuable than D'Angelo in that role. I mean, I think he can do some of the D'Angelo things. He added 5 rebounds tonight in 21 minutes. I think he can do a little bit more. He's not a little person. I mean, he's not slight. He's just thick as D'Angelo is. So maybe they consider doing that. And it changes a little bit how they would operate. But D'Angelo really hasn't added a whole lot. And I think they keep waiting on him to kind of fire, and it doesn't happen. And I've got questions about whether it ever really did happen. I mean, D'Angelo's a senior, I know that, but, he missed a ton of time. He had to sit out an entire year. He was hurt. He really wasn't himself last year because he was hurt until like February. He wasn't right, and then it was too late. And, yeah, I don't know about D'Angelo, man. I just don't know. At some point, I mean, he has a 4-point night, 0 for 4 from the floor, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, 1 steal, ±2. So it would definitely be a consideration. We got our first super chat. Sparrow Empire, thank you so much for jumping in on the super chat there. I don't feel like I deserve shit tonight, honestly, for the things, for the show kind of being sucky there to start with. I was not happy with how that went down, and I know you guys weren't either. But thank you very much for your support. And I know I can count on you. You've been here, and it's appreciated, bro. No doubt. What else we want to talk about? Oh, yeah, football. So, news today, Marcus Woodson ends up taking the job at Florida State. It was last night when he actually decided. We'd gotten some intel overnight that he was leaving. And we got up early this morning. Jeffrey and I did, and we're working on the story. And one of the FSU writers got it first, and then we were trying to corroborate it on the Auburn side just to make 100% sure it was a go. And then we got it, and then we wrote it. I am a little surprised that he ended up leaving. He was offered a job initially in December, turned it down. They hired a guy, and then that guy left for Texas A&M, so they came back to Marcus, presumably with a richer offer, although I don't necessarily think this is a money thing. He also turned down Ole Miss in the interim, so he's definitely a guy people wanted for different reasons. I think at Ole Miss, Marcus's specialty is the state of Mississippi, and they thought, hey, we'll bring him in here, and with him and Terrell Buckley, we'll get this state locked down all the way from Memphis all the way down to the water. That was the thought there. I think at Florida State it's going to be different for him because I don't think FSU is going to focus on Mississippi. But anyway, that's a loss. Absolutely. I wouldn't say he was their best recruiter, but he was definitely in that group. He was in a little legion there with T. Will, and Carnell has impressed me with some of the stuff he's done in a very quick turnaround. So, there's some really good young coaches at Auburn, and they're probably going to be adding one more. With Marcus gone, the 2 guys that I would say you need to keep an eye on, there's really 3, but Al Pogue for me would probably be the number 1 guy. A guy who was offensive quality control guy. Oh, my goodness. Jazzy Joe in the house. Oh, my goodness. A big super chat from Jazzy Joe. Thank you, man. I don't feel like I deserve it tonight, but I appreciate you. Says, what up, JG? I'm a longtime subscriber and listener. I'm new to the YouTube chat and going to try the bunker. I drive the Auburn striped semi and just bought out a new decked out Auburn semi. Honk if you see me, WDE. I will absolutely do that, Jazzy Joe. Thank you for jumping in tonight. Appreciate you, bro. Huntsville Tiger says, damn, the semi business is paying well. My man. Hey, Huntsville Tiger, for real, though, I don't think you were on the chat a couple times ago, but I did do the reset. remember, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. I mentioned you on a show maybe 3 or 4 ago that you had been military. You had never told me that. I just assumed that from your demeanor and just kind of the way you were talking. Turns out Huntsville Tiger is like a civilian who's done a lot of like stuff that you've worked kind of alongside the military. You've been overseas. You've done a lot of stuff to help the military. And so that was my mistake. He has never said, I'm military. He has never tried to get any stolen valor. That's 100% on me. And I made the clarification on a show recently. I just want to make sure you heard it and everybody else does. That was on me. So there you go. Just to reset there. And yeah. So there you go. And Jazzy Joe, yes, he's the man. Absolutely. Thank you for jumping in. Okay. So as I was saying, Al Pogue to me is going to be the number one guy. Al Pogue was working as, like, I call it a GA, but I think he was technically quality control, just an off-the-field role, pseudo-analyst type guy. He was a very successful high school coach in Montgomery at Carver High School and then St. Jude before that. He played at Alabama State. He's from Mobile. So, I mean, he knows this state really well. He's young. He's got a ton of energy. I know there were some videos posted on the bunker this morning from his time. He's been at West Virginia with Neil Brown, transition. He was at Troy, and then he went to West Virginia with Neil Brown. You can see the videos on there. I mean, he's super energetic, kind of talks like he's Trooper Taylor. I mean, he has that just incredibly effervescent personality, and I think he would be a tremendous recruiter and a tremendous asset. He's somebody that Gus knows, who's worked for Gus. He's real close to T. Will. A lot of these guys who have been around a while, like Cody, and some of the other guys who are behind the scenes and whatnot, he knows those guys, and I guarantee they're going to come to Kevin Steele with very, very great ideas about how easily Al could fit in with this group. So I would think it's going to be very persuasive. They're also going to take a look at Zach Etheridge. I always want to call him Zacchaeus because when we covered him in recruiting at Charles Henderson High School in Troy, Alabama, he was going by Zacchaeus back in the day, and it just kind of burned in my head. But anyway, Zach is at University of Houston now. I've spoken with him recently just to kind of I just check in with guys periodically. Zach's a guy that we know and liked him a lot, and he's a friend of the site, and we just kind of keep up with guys like that. There's a bunch of them like that. So, Zach's I can assure you he'd love to come to Auburn. I mean, he likes the job he's got at Houston. And he's been moving up, man. He was with the Raging Cajuns not long ago, so he's definitely on an upward track. And then there's another fella, I want to say by the name of, is it Addison Williams? Addison. That's all I was told, Addison. I think it's Addison Williams is another guy who I would consider a dark horse candidate. I think he's been over at South Carolina, or he played at South Carolina. I just heard South Carolina. Obviously, I haven't done a bunch of homework on him yet because I think Al's going to be the guy. But that's another name to keep in your head. And I think Gus, he'd like to get something done here pretty quick. I don't know if that's 24 hours or if that's, 5 days. I don't know. But, because the way recruiting has changed, the schedule's changed, I don't necessarily think, golly, 10 years ago, you think you have to make a change in January when you're having this recruiting derby. But Auburn's got the lion's share of its class already signed. So it's a little bit different. And it may be the case that Gus doesn't feel as much pressure as he would under normal circumstances. Jazzy Joe says he likes Zach Etheridge. I do too. Al and Zach are very different kinds of people. Al, to me, is probably going to be, like I said, he has kind of a Trooper Taylor, like just super loud, and he just has so much fun all the time. And I think it's great with the kids. He really, really bonds with kids. He's very youthful. And, yeah, he's got that whole vibe. Zach is a quieter person. Zach is a more calculating person. To me, Zach's probably a little more of a strategy guy than Al. Not to say that, Al isn't. I'm just saying, Al brings a lot of energy, and Zach just kind of brings more, I don't know, stone cold. I don't really know how to describe it. It's the way Cody, Cody's kind of quiet and buttoned down. I think Zach's more like that. So two different guys there. And two guys that are obviously Auburn guys. I mean, Al didn't play at Auburn, but he spent a lot of time here, and he loves Auburn. He always has. And, Zach, he played at Auburn, and he broke his neck on the field, and he came back to play. And, the guy's just an absolute stud. I don't know what else to tell you. All right, so that's the situation with Marcus Woodson. They're going to miss him. There's no doubt about it. But I think Al or Zach, both of those guys to me look like somebody who could slide in there and really help in different ways. And it's going to be up to Kevin. A lot of people are like, well, Gus has this reputation for shoving stuff down everybody's throat. I don't think that he does a lot of that to Kevin Steele. The only time that I've ever really seen Gus get up in Kevin's business is occasionally, because the head coach has to sign off on all the offers that go out, which I think is fair. He's the boss. And occasionally he will not okay an offer on defense. It's not common. It's happened before. And that's really the only thing that ever happens. When Kevin, he runs what he wants to run. And, dude, he's been doing this since like 85. Or maybe before that. He was on Tom Osborne's staff at Nebraska. We're talking back in the 80s. So Gus doesn't get in his way. And if Kevin says, hey, I know Al, and I like Al, and I trust Al, let's go with Al, then it's going to be Al. It's pretty much that simple. Chip says, sounds like Woodson is imminently replaceable. I'm not trying to talk him down. Marcus Woodson's awesome. He's a good dude. He worked his butt off at Auburn, and he's a very effective football coach. I thought he did a good job on the field. I thought he's a really good recruiter. He's valuable, and that's why Florida State came for him twice, and Ole Miss was trying to get him as well. There's a reason for that. I'm just saying, I don't think it's the end of the world because you've got two guys there with Al Pogue and Zacchaeus that can help you. You're not having to go out into the great blue yonder and figure somebody out. You've got two guys right there with direct Auburn ties that you can feel good about. So that's all. Brandon H. says, hey, Jay, hashtag hottie toddy. Glad to see some of my Rebel Grove friends over here. I don't know if they had their show on tonight. I was on the hand raise guys. Golly, it was like 2 nights ago. No, it was Sunday night is when it was because they were getting ready. They were taping a show for Monday morning. And I was over there talking some smack. And for those of you who listen to G-Pits, I think we're going to have a new sponsor. We have a title sponsor, obviously, but we're going to have a new secondary sponsor coming up on this next show. I'm really excited to tell you guys about it. It's somebody you guys are going to be familiar with. All right, so basketball. Again, to me, it was Devon Cambridge. It was the free throw shooting. And I thought defensively, Auburn was pretty good for most of the game. They had a few lapses, but in general, they locked down, and I thought they gave them trouble. Lawson had a tough first half. I thought they did a great job against him initially. It was a little bit better in the second half. The kid from Chicago, number 5, he was a pain in the ass, but he's a really good player, so, whatever. The rest of the team didn't really do a lot, so it was pretty much those dudes. Keep thinking Flanagan's going to put together a big game, because I know he's got it. I promise you he's going to be good. It's just, it's not quite coming together for him yet. He finishes with a -11 today. Plus minus is not the be-all, end-all, but that's not a good look. When Isaac goes plus 32. We got a new super chatter coming in. It's Fat Crack, one of our old faithfuls. Fat Crack, appreciate you, bro. Had a little bit of a problem with the show earlier. I apologize for that to all of you guys, but thank you for sticking with me. He says, JGT, great win tonight, and thanks always for doing this for us. God bless you, sir. Thank you, Fat Crack. You are awesome. Always here on the show and always taking care of me and the show. Sparrow Empire, he's our second super chatter of the night. Says, despite Devon carrying us tonight, are you concerned about the bench like me? Even with a true 9-man rotation, I don't think we get enough consistency. Fair question. So Devon was insane tonight. Absolutely insane. I thought Jamal did what he usually does. Solid. 6 points on 2 of 3 shooting, 2 of 3 threes. Of course, that's pretty much all he's doing now. I think he's a little miscast as like this sharpshooter off the bench. I don't think he's a sharpshooter, but that's the role they've got him in, and he's decent at it. As I just said, Al Flanagan, I swear he's going to be better, but, I just keep waiting for him to click, and it doesn't quite happen yet. He just seems a little disjointed, but I feel like they got it in him. And you think about it, he was a 3-star recruit, and Auburn goes after 4s and 5s now. I understand his dad is an assistant coach at Auburn, but they were absolutely all up that kid the whole way because BP was convinced that kid could ball, and I think he's been balling to some degree. I just think he can be a lot better. Stu Pup jumps in again. Our second super chat from Stu Pup. Great win tonight. Ball movement was better at times. Oh, yeah, put this in your G string for new equipment. I wish I had an answer for what in the world went wrong earlier. I mean, I just had to restart my computer and do all that kind of stuff, but I had no reason to know I was in trouble. I didn't know until all of a sudden it just ran up on me. Let's see what else we got. Blake D says, good point, Sparrow. Hope the bench can stay consistent. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much a 9-man groove. But people in the bunker are always like, well, Stretch ought to be playing more. Turbo ought to be playing more. Jalen ought to be playing more. And I'm telling you guys, they don't. They love those 3 kids. Absolutely love them. Would be heartbroken if any one of those 3 was not with them right now. But they don't think those guys are going to help them much in the SEC season. It's just they don't feel like they're ready. I told you guys before, they kind of were hoping Turbo could be the backup point guard, but it just hasn't really come out that way. And I don't think going forward he's going to be a point. I think he's going to be a combo, slanted a little bit toward being a 2, and I just think they're going to have to do something else. I mean, when Sharif gets here next year, it's not going to matter. I mean, he's going to play 36 minutes, but I don't know. It's not happening right now. Jalen is a little bit better. He's going to be to me, like a better Anthony. Same kind of deal. I mean, he's going to be a stretch 4. He's a lefty versus a righty for Ant, but he's a 3. He's a pick and pop 4, I should say. He's a stretch 4. In real life, he's a 3, but at Auburn, he's a stretch 4. Lefty, has some drivability. Probably shooting is his best asset, and I think defensively he's going to be able to add a little bit more than Ant next year. I don't think he's quite ready to do it now because Ant's kind of a disappointing defender. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's a great weak side ball swatter. He's good at that, and he's a good pick and pop guy. But that's pretty much it, right? He's not great in transition. He's not great with his back to the basket. He doesn't really have a lot of moves. And his rebounding is so-so considering how big he is. I mean, Austin's twice the rebounder he is. So, I don't know. I think Jalen has a chance to be better than Ant. Alpha Tiger back with your pissy comments on me again. Ellen is back. Hair looking strong, JG. Thank you, sir. It was a little more under control today. I was hoping you would be happy. Patrick makes a great observation. Very similar to last season with Jekyll Hyde home and away. Yeah. Whew. They'd play some great games at home, and they'd lay some eggs on the road, wouldn't they? Thinking about that Ole Miss game to open the SEC season last year. I was thinking about that game at Kentucky in late February where I was like, oh, God, this team's in deep shit. And they weren't. It happens sometimes. TD says, won't Sharif need a backup? Yeah, I mean, I think at that point maybe it will be Turbo. Just as a combo, kind of being the way that Samir is right now. Samir's not really a point, but he can play point, and I think that's what they're hoping Turbo can do. But believe me when I tell you, Sharif is going to be playing a lot. A lot. He's really good. Some people in the bunker were actually trying to poop on him the other day. I was like, I'm like Mike Gundy. Where are we at in society today? Yeah, I mean, Auburn gets a kid who's a 5-star, number 1 point guard in the country, and they're like, man, I think he's overrated. Like, just stop. Stop and appreciate the cornucopia that is Bruce Pearl. The Canoe Man jumps in with a super chat. As usual, Canoe Man's always here for us. Says, incredible twerking during the intermission, JGT. We all thank you, sir. I'm glad you guys were able to see that. I thought the cameras were off, but if they were on, I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you guys so much for that. Got to write these down. You super chatters are badasses. Of course, it's the same crew because you guys are just awesome every single day. No doubt. JG hair not showing enough flair, AU Alchemist says. I know, man. It's pretty muted today. Still getting the poopy, though. I think Alpha Tiger just likes busting my balls, though, which is cool, man. That's kind of his gig. And he's called in the show. He's been a great part of he's been a great caller for us, so it's okay. I don't mind. Speaking of that, man, I had a weird moment today. So I was hanging out with my mom, and She was watching one of her favorite movies, which is A League of Their Own, which, I mean, I like that movie. I do. It's one of my favorites. Just because it's fun and light. And yeah. Anyway, I think it's cute, and I enjoyed it. And I was going to school in Kentucky when they were filming it in Evansville, Indiana, which is not close to where I was, but they were updating it on the film. And it was like, Madonna is getting a film made in Evansville. And it was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Anyway, where the hell was I going with this? Oh, Rosie O'Donnell. Like, so that's back when Rosie O'Donnell was like, you know, like this kind of cute, mouthy, funny, affable chick that you kind of pulled for in that film because she's kind of a cool character. And then I was like, hey, you know, I haven't heard much from Rosie O'Donnell today. I'm going to check out her Twitter feed. I was like, whoa, hold on. I mean, I guess on Twitter I'm following like Auburn accounts and SEC accounts, and that's kind of like, that's what I use Twitter for, you know. I don't follow Rosie O'Donnell, and I don't really get political and anything. Wow, she's very political. We'll leave it at that. And she doesn't look like she did in League of Their Own. Believe me when I tell you that. My goodness. Sorry, guys. Pop culture-wise, sometimes I'm a little bit out of it. I didn't realize that Rosie was off the deep end. Brandon Herring jumps in with a super chat. Says, what's up with Andrew Ray's Twitter? I don't know who that is. Should I know who that is? Is he that crazy Georgia fan? Is he the guy that like cries on the camera and stuff and was like saying that Roddy had like cut him off the site or whatever? Is that the guy you're talking about? If it is, I have a lot of thoughts about that dude. I think that name rings a bell with me. Fat Crack also jumps in again. Thank you, Fat Crack. Says, what can Bruce or the coaches do to get Wiley more comfortable around the basket? It seems as though he may spaz at times. Or is Wiley more of a rebound and back end type of guy? That's the thing, man. Wiley's kind of like a classic center in this universe of positionless basketball. He's kind of he's a relic. He's a dinosaur. His game doesn't really match what's going on in contemporary college basketball, so they have to modify it a little bit. Yes, in my opinion, he's more of a rebound and stick back guy. I think that's his role. They like to try to get him the ball because if he can initiate his moves, he's actually pretty damn good. The problem is that they can't get the ball to him consistently. His hands are not very good, and about half the time something messes up and it doesn't work. I don't really know what else to tell you. I feel like if he was playing for a team that was more used to throwing the ball into the post, if these kids in high school were kind of playing with big guys like Austin, or if they were just more used to it in an AAU ball or whatever, I think he would be even more effective. Because if you look at it on a per shot basis, he's pretty damn effective. It's just he doesn't get a lot of shots because they can't get him the ball consistently. It's crazy. Anyway, thank you for the super chat again, Fat Crack. You're the man. D013 is back in the house. Good to see you back, bro. Folks need to stop being so down on D'Angelo. He's had at least a dozen in and out threes in the last week. He's also probably the only guy on the roster who can consistently hit 3 or 4 threes a game. That is true. I think D'Angelo has the sweetest shot on the whole team. It's a beautiful shot. It just doesn't go in enough right now. I don't think he's going to be bad. I mean, I think he's going to be a good player. Just feel like time's running out, man. I mean, we're like, 6 or 7 games into the SEC slate now, and we're still just kind of waiting on him to get started. And I don't understand that. You know, I was talking to a coach the other day, and I was like, what is the deal with D'Angelo? Why is he not in gear? And the argument was, look, man, I know he's a senior, and I know you've known that he's been here for like a million years, but he's only played, this is second full season of basketball with us. Because he was held out a year, he had to wait a year, he was banged up all last year. Like, he just hasn't really gotten going yet in a career perspective. And I mean, that's a good point. I don't know. Blake D says, great job, Super Chatters. Way to support the Auburn family and top shelf bourbon for Jay. Yeah, only the best here for the Basil Hayden's Caribbean Reserve Rye. But no, for real, I do thank you. And we had folks previously who were huge the other when I was in Kentucky, stuck out there without my equipment because of that big storm that allegedly was going to come through. I don't want to joke about it because some people really did get injured, but we ended up staying in Kentucky an extra day because of that storm, and I had to do kind of a crappy show. But I appreciate you guys sticking with me through that. That was crazy. Oh, my goodness. Jazzy Joe again? Jazzy Joe comes in again. So this one's for BMAT, which I can confirm that everyone from all 48 states I travel knows BMAT is a doer of many things. Jazzy Joe, you're the man. Thank you, bro. I will do that for BMAT. I'll tell you, I'll make sure BMAT gets that. And BMAT, if you're watching, wow, that was very generous of you. Thank you, Jazzy Joe. Incredible. Fat crack, too. Appreciate you guys. Alex says, I'm a 24/7 member. How much better is the bunker? Man, so yeah, I'm not the guy that's going to poop on 24/7 because most of the guys over there are good friends of mine. Jason, Philip, two guys that I love, like brothers. I guess Philip would kind of be like a older brother. Jason's my age. He's like 3 weeks older than me. I always let him know. And Mark Murphy too. I like Mark. We've been working together forever. I feel like their board's a little more calm, a little more sunshine pompery, and I think the bunker is a little more savage. And I think we let negative folks. I don't really want to call them negative folks. We let people say negative things and just kind of blow off steam a little bit more, and they have a little more latitude maybe on the bunker. Yeah. That's how I would describe it. Let's see. TD has something not very nice to say about 24/7 posters. I'm not going to say that at all. We have a lot of posters who are on both sites, so it would be silly for me to rag on them. I just know me, so I'm more of a bunker person myself, just because of the personality I am and the things that I do and say. Why is that schedule not updated? That makes me angry right there. Have it updated right there. Alex says, I'm friends with Brandon, so I had his back, LOL. Hey, that's cool, man. I got you. Brandon, he's been out for a few weeks, I guess. We've all been thinking about him. Brandon's really good at what he does, so looking forward to him getting back on the beat and doing his thing, because it's a pleasure watching him work sometimes. Kind of sucks because he's the competition. I don't want him to be too good. But he's generous enough always to invite us over to his house for like a preseason shindig, which we went to this year. I know me and B-Matt and B-Matt's wife Yvonne were over there, and got a bunch of guys from the beat. Let's see, Ferg was over there, Tom. Of course, Brandon and his wife Amanda were generous hosts, good folks, and his son, I forget his son's name. Skips my mind, but yeah, they don't have to do stuff like that, and they do it just because they're good folks. So, yeah, I like those guys. I mean, again, I'm biased. I like auburnsports.com, and I like the bunker ethos, but some people, maybe they don't like that as much. This is Canoe Man says, no offense by this. However, if you are a Brandon guy, 24/7 might be your favorite. I don't know. Brandon's not. If we're going to talk about people who talk shit, I mean, Brandon, he'll talk plenty. He's not, whereas Jason and Mark really aren't those guys. I mean, Brandon will talk it, and Philip probably wouldn't, but he'd do it in his own way. Anyway, Huntsville Tiger 34 says, we're negative, folks. That's probably fair. TD says, iTat is really good, although less trafficked or busy. Yeah, I mean, I got nothing. Jason Caldwell's I love Jason Caldwell. I don't have any brothers, never did. I think of Jason as a brother. I really do. I love him. And Mark I don't think of him as a brother. He's older than me, but I like Mark a lot. One thing that'll sneaky about Mark, if you guys have been over on that site, heard him on the radio or whatever, because he's been writing about Auburn since like 81 or something. I mean, forever. Mark knows his music now. I consider myself somebody who knows a lot about music, 70s, 80s, 90s specifically. And Mark he's sneaky, man. He knows a lot about it. And when he was a younger man, he went to a lot of shows. He blows me away with all the shows that came to Beard Eves. Man, there were some incredible acts that used to play in Beard Eves in the 60s and 70s, including the Rolling Stones, the Hall & Oates. Golly. He likes to talk about Captain and Tennille, which is not something I necessarily pay much attention to. Elton John. I mean, it's crazy to think all that went down. But, yeah, it was a different world back then, I guess. Anyway, I would absolutely love Alex, for you to be on the bunker as well and just see what you think about it. Because, I mean, we have some awesome posters, and I have fun there every single day because everybody's ready to go every day. Like we all suit up, ready to go. It's like that cartoon where like the coyote and the chicken hawk like kind of fight every day and they just clock in and clock out. I feel like we do that. And we got a guy named Rice who's like Mr. Sunshine Pumper, and he'll defend everybody at Auburn all day long. And then you've got people like Alpha and Cooked, and there's several others that just kind of smack Rice around. And I wouldn't necessarily say they're negative, but I would call them realists. They would probably consider themselves realists. And so you just kind of have it go back and forth. But generally, it's not mean-spirited. It's just kind of fussy. I don't know. Hey, Fat Crack comes through again. Says, this one's for Jay Lee and his chewing sticks. How about ya? Thank you, Fat Crack. Appreciate you. No doubt. Okay, what do we want to talk about here? Oh, he says Rice is on 24/7 as well. I feel like he's cheating on me. I'm not surprised. You think about all the posts he makes on our site, and then he's doing that somewhere else too. That is a voluminous poster if I've ever heard about it. Canoe Man says he never got the Red Hot Chili Peppers to play on the soccer field. Well, guess what? I failed there too. I came pretty close though. Tomorrow's a big day in the Tate family. My daughter, tomorrow's when she finds out if she is a finalist for the Big Daddy Scholarship at Transylvania University, my alma mater, and my wife's alma mater. So hoping to hear some good news tomorrow, by the way. I know you guys don't care about that at all. I'm just saying. Something that's weighing on my mind. Maybe we should we should open the phone lines and let B-Matt jump in here. I would love to talk to him. Let's see what he's up to. Oh, he just posted his story. That's good. Did y'all see Alan Green on TV tonight? He was sitting with Chuck Barkley. I was like, Alan, oh my God, very photogenic dude. I still never hear anything about what he's doing though. He loves working in the darkness. I don't really get that. Where are you at, Brian? Okay. All right, let's check in with B-Man. I'm gonna go ahead and fire up the Skype. See what's going on. Alex says Transylvania or South. Yeah, that's kind of that's the quandary right now. Whether she goes to Transylvania South or Ole Miss. We'll just have to see what happens. I'll tell you what, man. I have I've been doing what I can behind the scenes, man. I mean, I sent an email to the interim president, who I know through a friend. And he actually ended up sending us a handwritten note yesterday, so I felt that made me feel good. Not that I mean, I don't expect to be homies with him, but that he knows that my wife and I are grads, and we're trying to get our daughter there. At least he knows that. And I've been emailing with the director of admissions there, this dude who's from Chicago, but he knows hoops, man, and so I've been trying to hoop it up with him a little bit. He seems like a really cool dude. He does a great job for them. And and also, if knowing that my daughter's the daughter of two Transy graduates who are really fired up about Transy, I mean, it's not going to hurt, right? Jazzy Joe comes in again. My goodness, the third huge super chat. This one, he says, this is also for Mr. Chewing Stick. How about you, Jay Lee? I heard someone beat me to it as I'm writing this LMAFO and add this to it. All right, I'll put it down. Consider it done, sir. Thank you very much for jumping in there on the super chat. Fat Crack says, I need to get in the trucking business. Jazzy Joe bringing the flow tonight. Absolutely. All right. Mr. B-Matt says he is ready to come on. So we are going to give him a holler. And hopefully nothing else goes wrong with the show tonight. Knock on titanium or aluminum or whatever this is. Okay, here we go. Let's get B-Matt on the horn. Mr. B-Matt, my man.
Hello.
Who this?
What's happening?
What up, B-Matt?
Well, I just got home from a really good night for Auburn basketball. I mean, I thought that was the game they needed tonight, and big game from Devon Cambridge, of course, and a big game from Samir and Javon, and the bench, the guard play. It was all just an excellent night.
Really? You thought it was that good, huh? You thought it was that good, huh?
I'm sorry, I missed that part. What did you say?
You thought it was that good, huh?
I did. I mean, I thought it was a big night for Auburn. I mean, of course, Devon, everybody, knows that he was special tonight and made some big plays coming off the bench there. Made some big threes. But I thought the most important thing, you look at Isaac Okoro with 7 assists, a career high, and a lot of those assists were to Devon.
Yeah.
And where he drive and kick it out.
He was good.
And find those guys, posting up for those 3-pointers. That was big, really big. And Samir and Javon did more of that tonight. That was one thing that Pearl really, really hit on after those 2 losses was his playmakers making plays. And he's talking about Samir and Javon and Isaac a little bit too when they drive to have a plan when they go in there and not just take a really bad contested 2. And you saw a lot of that tonight, especially from Isaac. But I thought Samir really kicked it up in the second half, and Javon was pretty good all night, I thought.
Yeah, man. Isaac really impressed me because, people are looking at his numbers and saying, well, he didn't score a lot of points tonight. But all those assists, man, and the way he was driving into the lane, creating opportunities for his teammates, like you mentioned, I thought that was a really composed, intelligent game for him, and he was doing what his team needed him to do, which was something that maybe he wasn't real comfortable with, but he was able to make it work because he's that kind of player.
He is. He is a freshman who plays like a senior, and he did the same thing tonight. He doesn't have to impact Auburn just scoring. He can rebound. He can assist. He can play great defense. And, he can finish at the rim when he's asked to. And, even though what he had, like 8 points, 6 points, 8 points, he had some nice finishes on some of his drives too, where he drove into the lane and finished over some people. So just a great night all around, I thought, for Auburn basketball. And then Devon Cambridge, I don't know if this is just a blip, or this is the start of something special for him. Now, I'm sure he's certainly not going to average 26 points the rest of the season, but, if he could come out and give you 8 to 10 points or double digits every once in a while, that would be huge off Auburn's bench.
Absolutely. The question was posed earlier. I mean, so let's say this is not a blip for Devon. Let's say Devon really is coming alive. Could you put him in the starting lineup right now, B-Matt? I mean, who would he go in for? D'Angelo? Can he play that spot?
Well, that's I see him more as a 2-3, but I think he could sub in for 4. I haven't been paying close enough attention. Who does he usually come in for?
It depends. I just think defensively, I'm not sure he can handle 4.
Right. And D'Angelo has a lot of experience doing that.
He does
a decent job with it. D'Angelo, again, just cannot get the 3 to drop. But, he did get in there and get some rebounds. He had, he only had 3. I thought he had more than that. But, he made 4 free throws. Auburn 18 to 21 from the free throw line tonight. Another big change there for the Tigers.
Yeah, that was insane, man. 18 of 21, 86%. I mean, that's a huge step forward for them. Huge.
Yeah, yep. And even when they're off to that bad start, they made 4 free throws to sort of keep them in the game there early before Cambridge sort of took over midway through that first half.
Yeah. Does this game change at all what you think about this team? I mean, after the losses at Alabama and at Florida, I know we were all kind of like, yay. Does this help at all?
Well, I was never that down on them. So I don't think this team has the upside that last year's team does because I don't think Javon and Samir are, elite like Jared and Bryce were able to play at in the last season, and Chuma too. But I do think this team is pretty good, and I think this team is capable of winning the SEC. I really do. I think it's going to be a grind, a war, and of course those 2 games against Kentucky home and away will be a big part of it. And LSU, I think they've got coming up here in the next couple of weeks. That'll be a really big game. I don't know if LSU. I think that LSU's still undefeated in the SEC.
Yeah, let's see. Coming up, they got Iowa State this weekend, and they're at Ole Miss, Kentucky at home, at Arkansas, which is going to be tough, and then LSU at home on February 8th. So they got some tough games coming up, B-Matt.
Very, very tough. So this team needed this. A lot of the things that Coach Pearl has been talking about, getting better play off the bench, getting more playmaking from the guards, not taking these bad contested shots inside, shooting free throws better, shooting 3-pointers better. That all happened tonight, so that's great. It's not going to happen like that every night, but this is a good step forward for this team.
No doubt. B-Man, I did want to mention that we've got a very generous super chatter on here, Jazzy Joe, who made a super chat in your honor. So
Wow.
Yeah, just trying to
Thank
support
you,
you.
Daddy Joe. I appreciate that.
Yeah, he's a bad man. He's a long haul trucker, and he's out here just representing.
That is awesome.
So
That is awesome.
the
Thank
people
you.
love you, B Matt. I mean, you're a beloved figure. Everybody loves you more than me, and you're a badass. That's why.
I don't know about that.
But it's appreciated. I know you and my man, young Nate, were grinding tonight, so appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. And y'all have a good talk the rest of the night.
All right, bro. We'll see you.
All right. Peace out.
That's Mr. B Matt, one of the all-time greats. Seems pretty fired up, man. Honestly. Chassis Joe coming through again. Says this is for the Peach Fuzz Toboggan Nate. What's up, homie? Look at that, man. The whole crew. The whole crew gets a shout out. It's a super chat. Nate, again, questionable clothing decisions at times with Nate, but I mean, maybe with my hair color, I don't really have standing to make fun of him. Chip notes that this is a very rough 4-game stretch coming up, and I want you guys to know Iowa State does not suck. In fact, I've got their Ken Palm up here. Let's see if I can get this up. This is Iowa State's Ken Palm matrix of what they've been doing here lately. Lost to Baylor. Baylor's obviously very good. Former Auburn point guard Davion Mitchell starting for them. I remind us every single time. And they lose to Texas Tech, who's been very good this year. And then they beat Oklahoma State, who's so-so. Assistant coach Scott Sutton, former sweet mate of mine at Transylvania University. True story. So their record looks kind of ugly, but the teams they've been losing to, with the exception of Florida A&M, have been pretty quality. So, and Iowa State has a long history of being good and a real pain in the ass in basketball. So they've got a young team right now, and yeah, a lot of people are going to erroneously look at that and think that Auburn's going to crush in this game, and I would be very careful. Be very, very careful about that. Looks like Ken Palm's giving Auburn a, 76% chance to win that game, which seems about right given the way things have been going. But, dang, man, they got to play Kansas, Baylor twice, and then West Virginia away. Good golly, man, that's brutal. But Davion's going to tear them up. Anyway, Iowa State. That's going to be an early game, too. It's 11 a.m. on Saturday. So you better get your drinking on early. We probably need to get up about 8 o'clock. Give your body about 30 minutes to get going, and then we start drinking. I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that because I do the game sober, believe it or not. But we'll definitely fire up a show after that one. AU Taxman says Marcus Pfizer's not walking through that door, fans. That's got to be the last time they faced off, right? Was in that tournament game with Marcus Pfizer. And Mel Tinsley was playing for them back then. And Auburn lost that game. Was that in the Metrodome? I think we were in Minneapolis for that one. You guys might remember better than I do. Love the Cats with a super chat, otherwise known as Hornacious. He says, I have shallow pockets. That does not matter. You do not have shallow pockets. We appreciate super chats all the same. And you're always here for us. Even that time that you were at like a convention or something, you still jumped on. And we appreciate you, of course. We know you. We know you got our back. Put it that way. Even though you shit on minors sometimes, it's okay, man. I don't. It doesn't bother me because I didn't go there. It's Jeffrey you got to worry about. Daniel P says, JG baby. What up, Daniel? Good to have you on the show, on the chat, so to speak. Fat Crack says, JGT, thoughts on Gus giving up the play calling? Great question. Is this the best thing since he just took it back over last year? Good, man. Look, man, I don't know what to tell you about this deal here because I'm as skeptical as you guys are, honestly. I mean, I don't feel like I always am, but on that one I am. You know, they get to the championship game, and that's back in the days when Gus was, the genius, and he was calling the plays and did a good job. And then he allegedly hands it over to Rhett, and then he allegedly takes it back. And then he allegedly gives Chip Lindsey some latitude, although I don't think he had a lot of latitude. And then this past year, he took it back again, and now he's giving it away again to Chad Morris, who is the most qualified person to take it of all of them. I happen to think that Chad Morris is an absolute beast. I think he's the best offensive coordinator in the country. Yes. Now that Joe Brady's not in the college game anymore. So I think a lot of Chad Morris. I thought when Arkansas hired him as a head coach, I thought that was a home run hire. I was absolutely wrong about that. Chad did not run things well at Arkansas, and the team sucked. I do think he was the victim of circumstance a little bit because I think his team was going to get better. I think the team this year would have been better with him. But you can't go out there and lay down against Western Kentucky. You can't do it. And the team really did not seem very inspired in that game, and that's the kind of stuff you get fired for. And I don't blame Arkansas for doing what they did. But I think as a coordinator, I think he's going to be absolutely gangbusters. I think he's going to be able to take – he and Gus have a lot of common ground in the things that they want to do. But Chad, to me, has a much better understanding of how to use the passing game as a weapon rather than a safety net, which is what I thought Gus was doing all year. Way too many like screens, super short passes that I didn't think were very effective. It almost got to be kind of air raidy the way that he was using the passing game, which I'm not a fan of. And, you know, Gus, if you ask him, he'll say, we're a run play action team and then we throw deep. Well, they weren't throwing deep very much. And I think that Bo can throw deep. If somebody says, well, they didn't throw deep because of Bo, that's bullshit. That's not what it was. Because they were doing it with Stidham, doing the same stuff. So my thought is that Chad is going to be able to come in, add some concepts to the passing game that make more sense. They're going to make them more lethal, and Gus will stay out of the way. Now, I'll believe it when I see it. You guys feel the same way. I know. I understand your skepticism. I really do. But if there is one human being on this planet, the whole planet, including Myanmar, that Gus would allow, would actually concede control to somebody, it's Chad. It's the only one. So if it's going to be him, he's the only one that can do it. And I think he will. And I think Chad's going to help. If I have a question, it's the same question I've always had, which is, I still don't think Bo Nix is the ideal quarterback for the system that they want to run. I still think you need a quarterback who's actually an attacking runner. I think Bo is a good runner. I think he's an athletic player. I think he's one hell of a football player. And I think he has I was going to say something I want to say. He has a lot of moxie. He has a lot of confidence. I think he's a hell of a football player. I just don't know if he's going to be the runner that they really need. But maybe they're going to find a way to kind of reverse engineer it a little bit, the way that they did with Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow's not a great runner. I'd say him and Bo are about the same. I mean, Burrow will run when needed, and he'll put his head down and try to plow some people over if he needs to. But he's not really an attacking runner, and Bo's not either. Maybe they'll figure it out. I trust Chad as a strategy guy more than I do Gus. I'll tell you that. Not trying to shit on Gus. I'm just saying. Alex makes a very good point. Need a run game to have a play action game. Yes, you're right. And the run game was just so-so last year. The offensive line was just so-so. And although I hope this is not a hot take for a lot of you guys, I thought the tailbacks were just so-so. I am not the biggest Booby fan. I like him personally. I think he's a so-so tailback. DJ disappointed me a little bit. He wasn't what I thought he was going to be. I mean, stepping out of bounds in the LSU game without being hit is just a cardinal sin to me. And then Cam was just kind of who he was. So they really need Tank to come in here and be a beast. And I think he's got a lot of skills. I do. I think he's a home run hitter. I think he's a guy that can come in there and give you some of that and bust a defense's ass if they give him 5 yards, take it to the house. I think he can do that. Huntsville Tigers is a scrappy gamer. I mean, I wouldn't say Bo's a scrappy gamer. I just think he's a football player. I think he's a guy that just his head's in the game and he fights like hell. And you can win with a guy like that. I think he has a good arm. A lot of people in the bunker say he doesn't, but I think he does. I just don't think he should have been playing this year. It should have been Kelly Bryant. And then I got people in the bunker that go, they wouldn't have been any better with Kelly Bryant. Yes, they would have. Because Bo Nix's first snap against Oregon was his first snap. The first snap against Oregon, if Kelly Bryant had taken it, would have been like his 1200th. Like, I'm not saying Kelly Bryant's the best player in the world. He's not. But, I mean, he's very experienced, and he's pretty good. They would have been better off with Kelly Bryant, I think. We'll see what's going on. Canoe Man says, Booby fumble Whitlow. Dude, I've gotten on Gus about that too. Gus, if anybody else fumbles on this team, he raises hell about it. But if Booby fumbles 3 times in a game, he's like, well, just put him back out there. Like, come on, man. And he just kind of looks at me like, what do you expect me to say, man? Canoe Man says, don't forget about Marr, meaning Mark Anthony Richards. Absolutely. I am intrigued to see what he can do. But the last time I saw Marr, or Mark Anthony, which would have been early December, he was still limping. He blew his knee out in, I think it was the first scrimmage of the fall, and he was still having trouble with it. So, I mean, I think he's going to be ready for spring ball, but I honestly wonder if he's going to be 100% then. It's just going to take some time, I think, to get him back going. AU Taxman makes a very prescient joke there. He says, Tank's skills are already diminishing. That's a vague reference to the fact that in the final Rivals 100, all 4 of the Auburn kids in the final Rivals 100 all dropped, including Tank Bigsby, who dropped 25 spots. Don't want to take shots at Rivals because we're all part of the same family, but that's kind of bullshit. I mean, honestly. As Jay Lee said on the rundown, if you guys had a chance to listen to that the other day, he thinks the Tank is rated properly where he is right now. So he doesn't have a problem with that part of it. What he has a problem with is how high he was ranked before and what did he do to come all the way down to where he is right now? Because he had a fine All-Star game, and all the reports during All-Star week when he was practicing were fine. So what happened between then and now that he needs to drop 25 spots, which is a huge drop? And I just, the next time I see Farrell, I will talk to him about it, but they don't care what I think. They really do. They don't. They're just like, we're analysts and you're not, and we see these kids and you don't. And I mean, it's hard to fight with them. They make it an apples and oranges fight, no matter what I say. So it's kind of like banging your head against a wall. But I mean, Jay Lee voiced his concerns yesterday in a very reasonable way, I thought, because Jay Lee, when he gets pissed, he lets it go. But he did it rationally, and I appreciated that about him. He's grown up a lot. But believe me when I tell you that Jay Lee let the folks there know what he was thinking, what our site's thinking about it. Sparrow Empire jumps in again, says Jalen update. Nothing yet. I was actually asking Jay Lee about that yesterday. Hoop Scoops is firing up again, I think, next week. And he will continue doing Hoop Scoops for like the next 8 months or 9 months. Basketball recruiting kind of slowed down a little bit there in the middle of the season, but it's going to start picking up here as we start getting closer to the late signing period. So Auburn would still like to add a couple guys, and Jalen is certainly one of the 2 that they're keeping their closest eye on there. Call Me Biscuit says, trying to learn basketball. What's all this football talk? I know, man. I know. Jay Lee has too much minor in him, Hornatius says. Oh, boy. You had a super chat earlier that says, Minor and Hornomania suck ass. It's not very nice. I think I missed one earlier, and if I did, I apologize for that. I think it was, dadgummit. Yeah, Sparrow, I think I missed you on this one. You said, let me help you, JG. Austin is a human Lego and Dwight Howard's body. I wouldn't go that far, but, I mean, you guys have seen him. Austin's hands could be better. Austin is he's good at what he does, though. He's good as a rebounder, tremendous. He has a very imposing presence defensively as far as being a rim protector, and he hustles to get stickbacks, and he's good at it. And I think in a perfect world, again, if he was matched with some players that could get him the ball, that felt comfortable getting him the ball, he would be a little more effective. But if you look at him as far as usage percentage and all that kind of stuff, he's a very effective scorer when they get the ball to him. So I don't want to give Austin too much trouble. A big part of the problem is that the Auburn players around him don't know how to use him effectively, I guess, because they've not really been around players like that. They've been playing AAU ball and some high school ball in a system. I mean, the paradigm now is positionless basketball where your 5s are really stretch 4s. They're your second stretch 4, really, and they're running in transition. And those guys are face-up kind of players, and you're not used to feeding the post like that. Oh, let's see what else is going on here. I didn't mean to go on a rant there. Call Me Biscuit says Sonny quotes tonight. Sonny had some really good ones. He had one where he was talking about how many Halls of Fame he was in. he said he was in 7, but he could only name 6 of them. Oh man, Andy and I didn't think it could get better than Sonny and Rod, because I thought they were really funny. Because Sonny's great all the time, and Rod I thought did a good job of playing around with Coach Smith, but I felt like he deferred to him a lot, like almost like, Sonny's a Hall of Famer. Let's listen to Sonny grace us with his intelligence, which Sonny has a lot of great nuggets. But I feel like Andy doesn't view him that way. He almost treats him like instead of it being like this, I'm not doing a good job of illustrating it. Instead of those guys being on different levels like they were with Rod, I feel like Andy, it's like they're on the same level. And so he kind of almost plays him like a smart dummy. Like if you guys remember back in the old days, if you guys are really old, you remember how Pee Wee Reese and Dizzy Dean used to do it on the radio? And Dizzy Dean was kind of like the dummy, but he wasn't really. He was just kind of like the farmery, colloquial dude, but he actually would say a lot of good stuff. And then Pee Wee Reese was kind of like the button down, like smart guy. It's kind of like that. But Andy does an even better job than Rod did, I think, as far as playing off of Sonny. He sets him up all the time, and it's really funny. I enjoy the hell out of listening to them on the radio. Tell you guys, I get fired up about it. Yeah, Alex remembered from downtown Sylacauga. Yes, I remember he called that out today. It was funny. That was good stuff. It says, come out to San Francisco. I'm going to make a wine man out of you. I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, I've had wine several times, and I've kind of tried it, because people my age do that, but hell, my wife, she bought some bourbon maybe a month or two ago that had it was Jefferson's that was finished in wine casks, and so I had some earlier tonight, just a little bit, and oh my god, Jazzy, my goodness, and it kind of has a little bit of a wine finish on it, and even that was kind of bugging me because I just like drinking bourbon, yo. Jazzy Joe comes through again. I think that is your 5th super chat, which is a record. Unbelievable. He says, and this is from my homies in the chat. Let's go. Can I get a War Damn Eagle? And Chip, as he often does, acquiesces immediately. Deezer13 does as well. Jazzy Joe, unbelievable, man. One of the all-time performances right there. Unbelievable. Thank you very much for your generosity and for being part of the show tonight. Especially on a night when I couldn't even get the daggone stream going initially. It was terrible. So I've been trying to come up with some new stuff for when people do super chats. Like to have some kind of an alarm bell or something. I will get that working at some point. We need to have some stuff like that go on. I'd like to have like a disco ball actually here with me that would go off. It can be done. I'm just, I'm not an IT guy. I can't even get my computer turned on sometimes, but I'm working on it. I promise. Man, we got this far, guys. We got to the point where I can almost always put up the show. We can actually talk and stuff. That's huge. Blake D says, you're a beast, Jazzy. Oh, boy. You're exactly right. Even Warek's in the house. What up, Warek? Met Warek at the last Birmingham bunker meetup. Yeah. We had a good group out there last time. Has Overman been posting lately? Speaking of that, I want to look this up real quick. Overman was the guy I met, all of us met at the bunker outing, and he was really something, man. Let's see if he's been posting. I don't remember seeing anything. He hadn't posted since January 15th, like a week ago. His last post, it said it was in a thread called Thoughts on the Officiating, and Overman 185 says it sucks the D like every Bammer. That's funny, man. Man, you guys wouldn't even believe me. Warwick would know, but you guys wouldn't believe me if you knew what Overman 185 was like. He's like, Oh man, like if you were making a movie, like a Stephen King movie, and you needed a bad guy, like a really bad guy, like it'd be Overman. Like it would look like him. He just looks like a bad guy. Like I don't even know what to say about it. Maybe somebody who was there could see. Hornatius was there. Warwick was there. Maybe you guys can jump in. I don't know. He's like super smart, kind of short, has glasses. Just looks ominous. Hope he didn't come after me. Anyway, what else we got to talk about tonight, y'all? The fact that Jazzy is the man, is today's hero. Call Me Biscuits is holy S. Jazzy Joe down to 25 cents per mile. Oh, man, that's funny. You guys are hilarious. You guys are hilarious. Oh, man. Anything else from the final box here? Bench points 38-16. I'd say that's a good advantage for Auburn. Of course, Devon blew that up. 16 points off turnovers, plus 7 points off turnovers for Auburn. Second chance about even. Fast break about even. Points in the paint about even. Auburn goes plus 5 rebounding. Nope, plus 4 rebounding. Pretty solid. I mean, South Carolina didn't play a terrible game. I think Auburn just had a couple stretches there where they were just absolutely out of their minds. They had that stretch there where Devon hit threes on 3 out of 4 possessions, and the one possession he didn't hit a three, Jamal hit it. So it was a 12-point run right there, just boom, 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 boom. And Frank Martin called timeout, and then they had another run there around the 10-minute mark of the second half where they just blew the game wide open. Same basic thing. This team does get on runs, man. It's just the thing is you just can't. The shooting is not consistent enough yet. I know you guys are laughing about something. What's Canoe Man done? Every super chat over $10, a disco ball drops down, and JGT takes a shot of bourbon and then gets up to twerk. Good golly. That's a bad idea, Canoe Man. It's a very bad idea. It's not bad. It's just I probably wouldn't buy it again. I can't really use it as a mixer, though. It would mess up stuff. I guess the rule of thumb here for me is just don't buy Basil Hayden. I see people talk about it in the bunker, so I know it's popular out there. Jazzy Joe jumps in again. This is just getting out of hand, Jazzy Joe. How long do you think we have BP? How long will we have BP until he retires? Honestly, I think he will retire at Auburn. I mean, seriously. He had a chance to go to Memphis, I think, a couple years ago. It might have been 3. The years get away from me. And he didn't go very far down the road with them. And that's a good job. And, you know, Auburn, first of all, he has a great relationship with Allen. Allen stuck his neck out for him in a big way when he didn't have to, back when Leith was trying to be Leith. He was trying to Leith it up. And within reason, I think they've done everything that BP, when I say they, I should say Allen and the administration at Auburn has done everything that BP's asked them to do and more. So the support that BP feels like he's getting is very strong, and the arena's solid, and the fan support's solid, and he knows how beloved he is. He does a great job with that. And, I mean, he got to the Final Four. I mean, he got to the Holy Grail at Auburn. It can be done. His recruiting is, I mean, they've already been recruiting at an incredible level, and I think they've pushed it to a new level this year. And if they get one of these next 2 kids in the late signing period, it will again, for like the 4th consecutive year, be the best crop that Auburn's ever signed. And they pay him all the money he wants. I mean, it's a good spot for him, honestly. And you don't hear about this, you don't see this, but in my opinion, football bends over backward to help him. Now, you think to yourself, how could football help basketball? They can. Believe me, they can. Some of the recruits end up kind of hitting it off with some of the football coaches when they're having the big like when they have the not Big Cat Weekend, but like when the basketball has like their version of Big Cat, which I remember it going down like June or July last year. And so, obviously BP and Chad and Wes and all those guys are over there doing it. But the football coaches come too. Gus was there, but not for a long time. But like Kevin Steele was over there. Marcus was over there. Carnell was over there. JB Grimes was over there. And so I know you guys like ragging on JB, but he's kind of a country guy. And so when they were recruiting Walker Kessler, who was the big center, ended up going, was it North Carolina, I think? Yeah, JB and Kevin were talking to him a bunch because those guys love to be outdoors. They're outdoors guys, and they can kind of relate better with him. And they just went out of their way to help them. Auburn does everything it can, seriously, on all fronts to help BP, and he appreciates it. And he does a lot to help them too. All right, I went down a little road there. Didn't mean to. AU Taxman says, not a fan of Basil Hayden, just too low proof, no finish. Maybe Scotch fans would enjoy. Fair. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just too low proof. This is 80 proof, which is really low for me. God, I was drinking that Old Forester last week. It was 93. I thought it was low. Good point. I hadn't thought about that. Sausage says, Frank Martin is a classy guy. I always enjoy watching him in games. So much emotion. Yeah. He is a good guy. He does get a little overboard sometimes on the court, but I will say this. He's no match for Will Wade at LSU. Will Wade's worse. Alpha Tiger 08 asks a great question. What does Christie see in Gus besides his money? Listen, man, when Christie got together with Gus, he had no money. And for years, he had no money. So it wasn't money. I think they're just kind of like opposites, man. I think they're just kind of opposites. Christie is kind of spacey. I say this as someone who really likes Christie. He's kind of spacey and super high energy and has kind of a biting sense of humor. Although Gus does too. They have kind of a similar sense of humor in that way. I don't know, man. Kind of opposites attract, I think. Jazzy Joe comes in again, says, this is for Voodoo Wing Company. Jazzy Joe, seriously, you got to stop, man. I mean, I love you and I appreciate it, but come on, man. But yeah, I love you. I appreciate you, bro. Stu Pup says, Will Wade is a bitch. I'm not going to say one way or another on that. I'm not going to argue against it, though. Canoe Man, JGT did take a pull nonstop without super chats after the Ole Miss game. I don't even know what that means, but you're probably right. Corny says, Christie likes a pistol-packing man, I suspect. I didn't know Gus was a big pistol guy. Gus actually can be pretty funny, man. I'll just tell you that. I mean, I understand the frustration from Bunker folks because Gus, I mean, the facts are the facts. Tends to coach at his worst in the biggest games. Tends to. Not all the time. I thought he coached his ass off in the Alabama game and they won. But in the Georgia game, is another mess. But he's an all right guy. He's a pretty cool guy in real life. When he's chilled out, he's not all freaked out. He's not in the middle of the season, wound as tight, as can be. When he's kind of loose and it's not the season, he's a pretty cool guy. And I will give him credit. Like when I text him questions, there are certain questions I can't ask him, but if I text him stuff, he answers me. And I appreciate that. That's about all you can ask. It's about all you can ask. Yeah, it's about all you can ask for head coach. Deezer says, I poop on low proof. Me too, man. I didn't realize it was that low. Again, my wife likes this stuff, but, I try to have a different pour every single show we do, and it's kind of tougher during basketball season because we're doing 2 a week. But, hey, they can't all be home runs. Again, it's solid. My wife likes it, so that that's good. That's a good thing. Carter Max says Bruce eats Wheaties, Gus eats Fruit Loops. Oh, come on, man. That's not right. I don't like that sugar. I prefer some corn checks. Dan Webb says Gus is a dork. Okay. He's all right. Christy's awesome, though. I hope you guys all know that. I've said that so many times, but you guys need to know that. Christy's great. Christy Malzahn's a national treasure. She's the kind of gal you want on your team. Alpha Tiger, I'm not doing it. Not playing your FMK game. It's not a nice game to play because somebody ends up getting K'd, and I don't want to do that. And I'm not talking baseball. I'm telling you, Huntsville Tiger, I taste grape juice in there. Seriously, let me read this to you. Inspired by the pioneering spirit of Basil Hayden's bourbon, we finished this intriguing blend of rye whiskeys with a touch of rum, all in caps, balancing our signature rye spice with a subtle Caribbean sweetness. It is definitely sweet, but it ain't subtle. Anyway, dessert bourbon. No big deal. Fat Crack says, JGT, next time I am in the Gump, we need to grab some food in a non-homo way, of course. That's great. I'm always open to that. I've had some folks do that. Say, hey, JG, I'd love to go out to dinner with you or lunch with you, and I've done that. So holler at me. Direct message me or email me or whatever. We'll make it work. Warwick says he wouldn't answer me either. I know what you're talking about on that. You and Alpha Tiger on the same level there. I'm not doing it. Love the Cat says you could K them all. KKK. No, I would not do that. It was Gus, Ayler, and Rice. I like them all for different reasons. Listen, man, if Ayler hadn't actually shown up at a game and met some of the folks in the bunker that have met this person, I would not think Ayler was a real person. Because I know some people on the bunker have faked it, like these personas are not real. I would have just thought Ayler was a persona, but I think it's a real person. Deezer says, take it easy like the Eagles. Oh, how dare you. JG, one more time, man. You know how much I hate the Eagles. God, man. We were arguing among the beat writers about the greatest American band, and some of those guys said the Eagles. The Eagles. Are you kidding me? Great American bands? We've got Van Halen. We've got the Doobie Brothers. We've got Chicago. And you're going to tell me the Eagles? I think we can claim AC/DC too because their drummer's American. Jazzy Joe jumps in again. This is my last for the night, but I really appreciate y'all's content. Listening to y'all has helped me through a ton of tiring shifts. Thanks again. Jazzy Joe, this one's for you, bro. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for being part of our show tonight because I thought we were destined for failure as we failed early. But, man, you picked it up big time, and I appreciate you. Please come back. And you don't have to super chat anymore. Just come back and hang out. Because you super chatted a bunch, and I appreciate every single one of them, but don't feel like you have to do that. Ah, it's delicious. George says, did you see the Memphis score? No, I didn't see it. Can you pass it along? I don't really want to look it up while I'm here on stream. Now look at Blake. That's what I'm talking about. He says, you're awesome, Jazzy. Happy that you were here tonight. Hope to see you in the future streams. War Damn Eagle, brother. Be safe on the road, kind sir. That's great, man. That's the right answer right there. Dan Webb says Rush. Neil Peart, R.I.P., man. I could go on a rant about that. I don't want to do it, but Neil Peart, the drummer for Rush, passed away in early January. We didn't hear about it for like 4 days after it happened, but passed away. Apparently he was battling brain cancer. Didn't know that either. So, yeah. I'll just say that Rush meant a lot to me. I have listened to more Rush than anything else in my life. I listen to a lot of music, and if you count up all the songs I've listened to in my life, I bet it's 50% Rush. I mean, I still listen to pretty much everything they've ever done. I used to do a radio show in it was out of Jackson, Mississippi, and they're gone now. The show's over, and I don't do it anymore. But it used to be when they would have me on, they would play Working Man by Rush from their very first album. They call me the Working Man. And I love that intro. I still think about it. Like, we got JG Tate on the line. He's the Working Man. I was like, yes. That was great. I still listen from the first album. The first album's kind of hit or miss, but all the way until about Vapor Trails, I was on board totally. No, Snakes and Arrows. Snakes and Arrows. Far Cry is a really good song. One of their top 25 for me. And also for you guys who are big Rush heads, which I'm assuming you were if you asked Deezer and a few others, there is an article on the internet you can find where a dude ranked every Rush song, every studio song, and there were probably 150 maybe. Did not agree with some of these. Did not agree with the list. He was obviously somebody that was shitting on Presto, Hold Your Fire, Roll the Bones. Thought that most of that stuff was crap. Not saying it was all home runs, but there's some good stuff in there. And for him to say that Roll the Bones is a bad song, like one of their worst, it kind of pissed me off a little bit. So, AU Texman says, Jay, what's their best album? I mean, you'd have to say Moving Pictures. But oddly enough, on Moving Pictures, my favorite song is Camera Eye, obviously. And my second favorite song is Vital Signs. And nobody ever sings those. Nobody even knows those songs. Jazzy Joe says, I love Guns N' Roses. I've been listening to way more Guns N' Roses lately. Actually, they had a thread on the bunker. It was like great songs by great bands that nobody knows that they even had. And somebody posted the song Estranged by Guns N' Roses, which is on Use Your Illusion 2, or it's the one that's blue and purple. And I'd forgotten about that song, man. I hadn't heard that in like 5 years. Man, I've been listening to Strange like at the gym. It's a good gym song, I think, at least one to open with. Dan Webb says R40. Yeah. That one came along so late, though, where Geddy's voice was kind of crapping out a little bit, and I'm not hating. He gave it hell. But for me, like a show of hands, that's probably the album that I've listened to the most. And if I was on a desert island, I would want Show of Hands, Depeche Mode 101, and Pink Floyd, A Delicate Sound of Thunder. Those three would be my three that I could listen to those albums front to back all day long, and I've been doing it my whole life, really. Dan Webb says, I think they play again. Lee is antsy. How are they going to play again? I mean, who's technically strong enough to play all that crazy time shit that Neil used to play? And if they get out there and play and it's him and Alex and not Neil, is it Rush or is it something else? I'm not trying to turn this into a Rush stream. Jesse Joe says, Don't Cry is my favorite song by Guns N' Roses. Solid car. Solid song, no doubt. Bennett says, Survivor in the Cars. I was actually listening to a Survivor song the other day. I forgot about it. It's called I Can't Hold Back from 84. Really good song, man. Really, really good song. Forgotten song that a lot of people have forgotten. But it's good. It's like a top 20 hit maybe at the time. And the Cars are now in the Hall of Fame. Although Rick Ocasek is now dead, Ben Orr's been dead since 2000. They can't really reconvene, can they? Got to give the Cars credit. They had two lead singers, and really those guys split the duties 50-50. That ain't easy to do. Sparrow Empire jumps in again. Unbelievable, man. Big night for you, too. Did you notice Bruce put Mac and Wiley together at UF? I did. You did, too. Didn't matter, but made me happy. And if you're a fan of hip-hop, Eminem just dropped a new album. I'm a fan of old-school hip-hop, and I respect Eminem, although I don't listen to him. Dan Webb says, On the Turning Away. Great song. Probably won't be hearing a lot of Pink Floyd anymore either, huh? It's too bad that Roger Waters and David Gilmour just could not get it worked out. I mean, it was fine without Roger Waters, I guess, but I don't know. Sure would be nice. All right, guys, we're just kind of rapping here about nothing. We probably ought to wrap it up. Yeah. Some incredible performances today from the Super Chatters. Of course, Jazzy went off. AU Taxman correctly points out that Rick Ocasek bagged Paulina Porniskova, who legitimately in the 80s is one of the hottest women alive. And he may have been one of the ugliest guys alive. Like, he just did a hell of a job. I don't know what else to tell you. I know that's what you're bringing that up for. He's just not an attractive man. And you're talking, I'm like, I look like Shrek. And I can even say that about Rick Ocasek, I think. Anyway, Dan Webb says Division Bell. Hey, that's a sneaky good record, by the way. Came out, 95 or so? What Do You Want From Me was like the big song on there. That's good stuff. Why are they still called albums? I don't know. Dave Grohl got me calling them records. Usually I do. Anyway. Yeah, so we're getting way down in the weeds here, guys. I don't mean to. We're just kind of rapping and razzing. I do want to give a shout out to all the folks who super chatted us tonight, which is a list of notables, as they often are. Canoe Man, Stoop Up, Sparrow Empire's come through a bunch. Jazzy, of course, went off. Brandon H., I haven't forgotten you, bro. Fat Crack. Hornacious. Good night, asshole. That's my guy right there. He loves the show, guys. Can you tell? Maybe he's just mad that, you know what, AU-Tex, man? I will say this, dude. So when I was at my older house, maybe 10 years ago, I was going through the attic, and I had Pulse tucked away in like a tub of stuff that I had just kind of thrown in there years ago. That little light that's on the, I guess you call it the spine of the CD, was still blinking. True story. That must have been 20 years that thing stayed going. Blake says, Dave Grohl is my musical hero. Nice shout out, Jay. You're welcome, bro. I like Dave Grohl. I don't really like Foo Fighters very much. Their music just doesn't really speak to me, but I love Dave Grohl. I love his spirit. I know those guys are great musicians. I don't know. I love their first record and really nothing since then, but I got a lot of respect for him. It's how I feel about Springsteen, too. His music doesn't really speak to me, but I love him. He does great work. He's a great musician. He's doing it for the right reasons. I just don't dig it. I don't know. Pearl Jam, too. Life Wasted. It's about the only song I like by them. It has special meaning for me because my sister and I used to talk about the song Life Wasted because she had problems with addiction most of her adult life, and that song is about addiction, and we would talk about it, and you know, she passed away in 2016 from addiction. So every time I think about that or hear it, I think of her. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's good memories. Dan Webb says best show ever. You know what? I know you're just placating me, but I appreciate you saying that because I was very frustrated that I couldn't get this thing going the way that it should have in the beginning. And this whole time it says AUUGA stats right there. My goodness gracious. Jay, what are you doing, man? All right, we got that fixed. Now that we're an hour in. Sometimes it's just fun hanging out and talking. Soggy Bottom Boys, of course. Man of Constant Sorrow. Terrific film. By the way, the really, really dumb guy in that movie, can't think of the actor's name. Is it Blake? Timothy Blake? Timothy Blake Nelson? He went to my little ass high school in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's a true story. Yep. Unbelievable. It's a small world, isn't it, JG? Not very professional. Did I say a bad word? I'm sorry. Bennett says, so great to watch Auburn basketball, expecting to win. Enjoy your show. Hey, thank you for watching, bro. We're going to have a show after the Iowa State game on Saturday. I guess that'll be afternoon. That game's at 11 a.m. Central. So if you want to come back, check us out. For show. Solo Tiger, I like that attitude. He says, better late than never. Tim Blake Nelson, thank you, Solo Tiger. Better late than never, yeah. I told my wife, she was like, yo, the show went off. And I was like, yeah, I know. I'm trying to get my computer going. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. The good news is that everything was good once we got back on the air. So everything's Gucci there. All right. Again, Super Chatters, you know who you are. You're the best. Thank you so much to all of you who have been absolute studs in the chat. And thanks to BMAT for calling in. I know we're going to have some callers on Saturday because the bunker's going to come through as they often do during the weekend. This is kind of a weird time, 10 o'clock on a weekday. I get it. But I'm here for you guys. I said I would be, and I'm going to be, and that's that. So appreciate you guys again being part of the show. Until I see you guys next time, you know what I'm going to tell you. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. You guys behave. See ya.